Ciao everybody. I am so inspired with the little collection of goodies on my mat today. These are all from Joee James Beads and they are amazing. And so what happened to me is I couldn't decide what I wanted to make. And so I've decided to do two projects completely different, but using these gorgeous supplies. So this is a mini mix called Orangery, and it is from the Coquette collection, which was very Marie Antoinette inspired, and it's absolutely delicious with little glass pearls, and it's a mix of this really soft orange and this sagey green and pearls and these gorgeous little dot gold spacers. And these beads here, as well as these beads, have multiple ways to string them. This one, your stringing material can go up through the middle or across, and this one is the same. If you can see the profile, there are several directions in which you can string, and so I am just so inspired by that. I also have this gorgeous Color Classics bead strand in marigold. These crystals are absolutely beautifully cut, and I love these cubes. I love the whole strand, so I'm going to be cutting that open. I also am totally in love with this pair of boho beads, and they are in boho orange, and they're called Vintage Garden, and it's a pair, and look at the gorgeous little pearls nestled in amongst the flowers. So I love this so much. So I'm going to be using one of those in a project. I have this gorgeous little pot of JJB 60 seed beads in Tangerine Time, and they're very opaque, and they just look delicious. They have a candy vibe, but they're so pretty with everything. And then look at this funky mother of pearl bead strand. Aren't these awesome? They fit together just like nestle in between each other. And so that's going to be my second project. And I have these teardrop olivine crystal beads. They're check fire polished, and they're in the shape of like little pears. They're so autumnal, but they're such a gorgeous accent color to this collection. I'll just drop them in the dish so you can kind of see. They're just a little bit richer than the greens in the mix, and just absolutely gorgeous. So I'm going to be working with those. And this is one of my favorite little charms that has ever shown up on the Joee James Bead website. And there are a few colors in this. It is a little seed bead charm, and it's called One Heart, and I have the yellow, and it is just absolute perfection. It has a little seed bead loop on the top, and so I'm going to do something special with that. And I also have a chain reaction strand here, and this is from a 5-pack bundle. I love getting those, and I'm going to disassemble this. You can use them just as they are, but I'm going to modify this and make an extender chain on my bracelet project. And then in my little pot over here, these were in my stash from JJB from a past Magical Mystery bead box. You have to check the website to see what kind of head pins they have when you order, because they get some really unique ones. And I have some number 2 crimp tubes, and I have some gold jump rings in a couple of sizes here. So I'll set that off to the side. And I'm going to add in some gold seed beads in 8/0 and 11/0, but I also have some of my little pots left over from Magical Mystery bead boxes. They really are magical. No matter how much I make with them, they just don't seem to get empty. So last month's High Noon seed bead collection from last month's Magical Mystery bead box is there, and this was from a summer bead box, just a gold collection. And if you guys knew how many pieces of jewelry I did with this Magical Mystery bead box, you would be shocked that there's still this much left, but you just really get your money's worth. So I have those little things off to the side. And for my first project, I am going to be making a scissor sachet. It was inspired by this extremely vintage vibe of this bead mix, and I actually purchased these for a friend, so this is highly giftable. And one of the things that ladies did in years past, the bygone era, is they had little scissor sachets. Sometimes they had all kinds of little sachets, but sometimes they would have scent like lavender and that kind of thing. But I'm going to create one featuring this boho bead and some of the pearls and beads from the mix. And in my stringing, I will add in some seed beads to add a little pop of gold. And so what I'm going to do to make it interchangeable, because this is a gift for a friend, I'm going to use 2 jump rings, and I'm going to close them really well. You could create your sachet right through the handle of your scissor, but in case I ever make another one for her, or in case she ever wants to take it off and put it on another jewelry item, I'm going to do this with jump rings so that she has that option. So I'm doing a double jump ring for security and also for looks. So I'm just gonna gently get that over the edge of my scissor, and I'm leaving this on the card because, as I said, it's a gift and I want her to see that I have, gotten a new pair of scissors for her. So if you have gifts to do for jewelry making or crafting friends, who doesn't need a pair of scissors at their work table or even at your desk? So it's not a super expensive thing to purchase, and then adding in something handmade from you to make it lovely is a really cool gift idea. I think I am going to just cut the corner of the scissor card. Just snip the corner just so that I can work around it very easily. So now I have my 2 jump rings attached to my scissors, and I'm going to take a piece of 49 strand bead stringing wire. This is going to be covered up, so you can really use anything that you have, and you don't need much of a piece. I have about 10 inches here, 10, 12 inches. I didn't measure because you can really make this any length that you want. I'm going to do it so that my friend can clip this onto her craft cart or her tote bag. We do bead society meetings together, and we do bead social things, and we bring our supplies with us. So having a little loop that you can attach this on a carabiner, on your tote or something, is just a really lovely gift idea. I'm just going to use some 8/0 seed beads and also some of these gorgeous yellow, soft, pale yellow seed beads left over from my magical mystery bead box. And I'm just going to create a little seed bead loop here, and then this part is going to be extremely simple and basic. Just a gold seed bead. I have this really pretty little loop, and I have just a short tail on my wire, and I'm going to use my magical crimping plier. So let me switch hands. I am right hand dominant. And I'm going to fit that number 2 crimp tube right in the middle, squarely in the middle of the single divot in this tool, and close down. And so I've turned the tube into a little square, and I'm going to come in the opposite direction, squarely in the middle, and close down in that direction, and then just go around. You can either rotate your work or your tool just a few times, keeping that position, opening and closing. And I've turned the crimp tube into an 11/0 seed bead, essentially. So my little scissor sachet is started, and now I can have fun in my bead mix here, just creating with the bead mix. So I am going to go from, in fact, I'm going to cut this open. I'm going to go from the orangery mini mix, this marigold strand, and kind of use a little bit of everything here. I'm going to start out my stringing like that, just a little bead cap and one of my olivine check glass beads, and then I'm going to feed this bead cap, this cone bead cap, right on top, just like that, so my bead is just peeking out, and then my gorgeous boho bead, and that little cone-shaped bead cap just fits beautifully into the boho bead. And then I'm going to come to this end and do the same thing in reverse, but change my beads. And from here I'll create the loop that can be attached to a carabiner or an oversized lobster claw clasp. I'm going to pop on one of these crystals. That is just absolutely gorgeous. and maybe another bead cap on this end. So my scissor sachet is absolutely stunning, and from here I'm going to take another number 2 crimp tube and drop it down on my bead stringing wire and just create another little pattern of another little loopy pattern similar to this one that comes back around and down into my boho bead sort of component. So I'm just going to play. I really wanted to use some pearls in this part of my stringing just to tie in the little pearls that are in the boho beads. So that's my little pattern, my little loop. Let me get my hand behind it. That's my little loopy pattern, and what I did is repeated this little sort of bead station on this side, and now I'm going to take this end and loop it around, kind of move everything out of the way, and go back down through my number 2 crimp tube, the bead cap, whatever it will fit. I can maybe even go through the boho bead and then trim off at the bottom. I can. The holes are large enough to really make that full loop. So I'm just going to come down here and pull my loop. So I think it's so beautiful, but what I don't care for is that my pearls are competing for space here. So I'm going to back this down and add a few seed beads beneath each of those pearls and put this loop back in place, just because I don't like the way the pearls are sitting. I want it to be a really continuous loop. So it'll just take me a second. So now I've run my bead stringing wire back through the crimp tube and back through everything and pulled it tight, and now look what a difference 3 seed beads on each side makes. So on this side, I'm going to come in here and just flat crimp. And I'm using my Xuron crimping plier just because I want to get a hold of my crimp tube. And so I'm going to lay this flat on my mat and just tug. I want everything nice and snug. And I just want to get in there without damaging those seed beads. And I'm just going to flatten that bead. Just flat crimp so it looks like that. And this little loop is ready. I'm going to trim, and this little loop is ready to go on my friend's tote bag, or if she has a little hook on her craft cart where she does her jewelry like I do, it can hang there and it will never, you know, your scissors aren't lost. It's such a sweet little gift, and it's so beautiful, and it's such a like Victorian and, you know, really like vintage style accessory for people that do any kind of beading or sewing. Everybody needs a pair of scissors. I'm super excited to give this gift to my friend, and I'll put this in an organza gift bag, and you know, and I know that she loves Joee James beads, and you know, they're famous for their boho beads, so she is going to be so thrilled when I give her this. And what beautiful colors. Okay, next project is a bracelet project, and I'm so excited to make this bracelet. I'm going to cut open these strands and get another piece of 49 strand bead stringing wire out. Now on this one, I'm going to go ahead and make a loop on this side and go ahead and crimp one side. You can do it the other way where you're actually stringing from both sides, but I kind of know what my pattern is going to be on this bracelet, so I'm going to go ahead and make a little loop and use my magical crimping plier and get a little crimp in here. So I'm going to put one of these bead stations on each end of my bracelet. So I have the other one ready, and I'm going to pop a gold seed bead on first, and then I'm going to do sections of these interlocking mother of pearl beads. They're so cute and they fit together so beautifully. Isn't that gorgeous? So I have 7 on, and I think I'm going to do 9. I'm going to work in a section of 9, and then I'm going to pop on another one of my 8/0 seed beads and create my first focal. So my first one is going to be this gorgeous flower. Look at the filigree on the back of that. It's so pretty. Look at that. It's gorgeous. And I'm going to put an 8/0 seed bead on the other side and do another section of 9 of the mother of pearl. And then I took one of the quatrefoil beads from that gorgeous marigold strand, and then I'm separating each of my bead stations with 9 of those gorgeous interlocking mother of pearl beads. And then I'm going to come here and do my next bead station with these gorgeous little gold dot spacers. They look like a tiny little gold cookie. I love it. And then I'm going to thread on this cool bead through the middle. You can also string up this way through that way on this bead, but I love the way the little gold dot fits. Look how stunning that is. And I'm going to finish my stringing the same way that I started, with a daisy spacer and one of those gold beads and a daisy spacer. And I'm going to come to this end and do a number 2 crimp tube and make a loop just like I did on the other end. And you may have noticed that I am not checking my length on my bracelet. It's right around 6 inches, maybe 6 1/4, but I want to create a custom-made extender chain by modifying the chain reaction that I have here and putting a really pretty charm on the end. So I'm just going to get a loop in here that matches the other side and get this side crimped. I have my crimp tube in my tool, and before I close down, I just want to make sure my bracelet is fluid and no weird gaps, and it looks great. So I'm going to close down. I've made that little square, and same thing I did before, opposite direction, close down once it's in the middle, and just go around a few times. Gorgeous. So I'm going to come into my little pot here, and on this side, on one side, they finish the same. I'm going to add my lobster claw clasp. So just put a jump ring right through the loop and add my lobster. to this side, I'm going to create a modified extender chain, I guess. I'm hesitating because I'm not sure what word to use, but I want to use the kind of the same design that's on the chain, but where these small jump rings are, I'm going to put a larger jump ring. So I'm going to snip those little jump rings, and I think I'm going to do a section of 3. So this is just simple connecting. I'm going to take my first jump ring and add it to my final loop on my bracelet, and I'm going to snip one of my little connectors from my chain reaction. So I just love this idea of making a little fancy extender chain. So I'm just going to put it on and close the jump ring. And you know, you can do as long of an extender chain as you would like. Go ahead and cut these 2 open. I'll start with 3 and then I'll see how I like the looks of my chain. I think 3 is the sweet spot. So I just used the little segments in the chain reaction and put a larger jump ring where the little rings were. And that way my lobster claw clasp can come around here and clasp into any one of those jump rings. And it's just quite pretty. Okay, so I'm going to create a little drop. I am a person who cannot stand my final link on an extender chain to be undecorated. So I'm going to take one of my fancy head pins here and just create a little dangle for the end. Look at that. It's so pretty. Okay, I'm going to come to the top of my bead stack, make a little bend, and I'm going to come with my round nose pliers and create my loop, rotate those pliers, bring that around and make sure my loop is really pretty and centered on my bead stack. And then right where the 2 wires meet, I'm going to come inside right there and snip. And let me close this loop really well because I'm going to add this to the bottom of my extender chain with another jump ring. Just pop that right on there. That is just such a lovely extender chain. And then I'm going to take this beautiful little charm, this little seed bead charm, and add it as an additional embellishment. And I'm going to come right here. This charm is 2-sided. So I'm going to just put it right through this loop. And so no matter which way I, clasp this bracelet, this charm looks the same on both sides. So I'm just going to slip my jump ring through that seed bead loop, close it really well. Look how sweet that is. just like a little love letter hanging from the bottom of the bracelet. It's such a beautiful design. It's so simple. It's really simple stringing, but when your beads are this gorgeous, you don't have to overthink your designs. You just really have to get the beads on string and get them on your wrist because they are gorgeous. And with chain reaction, you can actually customize like I did and make your own extender chain. So it really looks artisan and handmade. And I just like when you have such beautiful, interesting things to work with, it is so easy to have a beautiful piece of jewelry at the end. I thank you so much for watching. Tap more underneath the video description, and links for Joee James Beads will be there for you. Check out their Fab Finds area of the website. And you know, their boho beads is one of the things that they're famous for. And if you have never had a Joee James bead mix, treat yourself to at least one. You will be hooked because you can get totally lost in their bead mixes. They're absolutely wonderful. And as you saw from the end of my project, I had so much left over. After doing a really nice piece of jewelry, I can keep going and make several more pieces. So I thank you again. Take care, everybody. See you in the next video.